I've been doing studies on wetlands as an ecosystem to link that to disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. My research was based on how do we use the natural environment to fight wicked problems that we're facing. The increasing frequency and intensity of disasters, droughts, floods, fires, and how does the natural environment try to help the community buffer or reduce this type of wicked problems. And one thing that I realized was there was a lot of misconception about wetlands. And when I did a lot of literature, I realized that actually wetlands are fascinating ecosystems. The economic value of wetland is just amazing. So actually in this particular study, I wanted to highlight how humans should work with their natural environment, not against their natural environment. So I had to sample a couple of wetlands, and I tumbled on the Multmansuk wetland, which gave me a perfect example of what I was looking for. The Multmansuk wetland is actually a valley bottom wetland. It's almost enclosed with surrounding mountains. This is an example of a wetland where you can turn a hazard to a sustainable livelihood.
When I finish the figures,
The particular owner, Mr. Willie Neal, incorporated three issues to build this particular wetland. The first one was somehow religion inclined. And he told me that he wanted to mimic the Bible, where God created the world and sat back and looked at it, and he felt happy. So he wanted to do the same with this particular wetland, because the problem here was that the farming that was taking place in the hill slope of the wetland was causing a lot of erosion. So there was always the transportation of top wash soil downstream, and he wanted to put an end to this.
we realized, we need to bring the blanket, the so-called God's blanket, back, cover the soil. That's the skin of the soil is the blanket, the vegetation, that mulch. So there's nothing. So we need to bring that back, and so that we can adapt a more profitable sort of enterprise on top of that. The moment I realized that soil is actually a living thing. I mean, in 1 teaspoon of virgin soil, there's more than 30 million living creatures, and there was none, because there wasn't the blanket and all the fertilizer and all those things. So then the focus moved to, we have to heal the soil. So immediately we started to put in permanent pastures, and we started to build over 50 dams in the dongas in order to stop and prevent the water to run away. Year for year, take one block out and from a cash crop, and then we started planting permanent grasses, and especially we focus on legumes, so that we can get the nutrition as soon as possible back into the soil so that the grasses can grow. And yeah, in 3 years' time, it was totally a different situation.
And then the second thing that he mentioned was the social science involved. And he realized that those who are causing erosion are actually ignorant of what they are doing.
When people came here and they saw this, they asked questions, I realized they're not aware of these things. They're not aware that the soil is also supposed to have a skin like us, to prevent it from the sun and to catch the water and to bring all the living things. They're not aware of that. They're not aware, at all aware. And so all of us sudden we now like a university on our own.
And that was the second aspect, the social aspect. And he succeeded this with community capacity building. And the third one was the natural science. This is where he actually got into the wetland, brought in technology, rehabilitated the wetland, and it was in a perfect state when I met that wetland. And I'm not surprised that it's a heritage site. And also for your own sustainability. For me, it was quite eye-opening that someone who is not a scientist could put together all these concepts and come out with what we are struggling to achieve in South Africa. 50% of wetlands in South Africa are degraded. And if you look at this particular wetland, the state in which it was, in 2016 there was severe drought in South Africa, but Mr. Nel could produce milk at a very low cost. And why a low cost? Because the cattle were freely grazing in a well-maintained wetland. So there was actually almost no cost for him in milk production. The benefits to the local community are quite vast. If you look at this particular wetland, it traps storm water that is coming in, transform it, purify this water, and downstream the water is so clean. I had to take a taste of it myself. It was very, very clean, sparkling clean. And what happens here? In a normal situation, those who are living downstream are now being provided with clean water.
What happened is we create jobs for us as a family, our kids, but also for the people around us. Because previously, or the option was now we can only farm with cattle and we need 3 guys to look after that. But when we adapt the ecotourism, on top of that, ecotourism also a way of farming, we can create jobs for more than 30 people. And it was not now about me anymore to make money. It was now about the generations to come.
Many people think of wetlands and say, oh, this is wasteland. But actually, wetlands play a very crucial role for the survival of the community. From wetland, you can harvest medicinal plants, maybe wild fruits, grazing land. The wetlands are always looked at as the natural kidney. And what does a kidney do? A kidney tries to filter dirt in your body, the same way that a wetland filters polluted water. And when flood water goes through a wetland, it breaks that energy, and therefore that flood cannot cause a lot of damage. It is an area where you find a lot of bird washing activities taking place. So you see, that also plays a very good role. It traps the soil that is supposed to be washed away and try to build that up into alluvium deposit, which is very, very good for agriculture. These 4 key services are very, very important for the livelihood, for disaster risk reduction, for climate change adaptation, for resilience of the community. So all this package goes into a wetland. That is why they are very, very important to us globally and to South Africans in particular.